Yo, you want to know some crazy shit? I forgot that I was a fucking F1 YouTuber. Now, how nutso is that? I haven't made an F1 YouTube video in like 2 months, maybe. I haven't looked, but I used to be heavy in the fucking F1 space. I was one of the top F1 YouTubers on the entire platform. I've been keeping up with F1. I have not been watching the races. I'm going to be honest. I don't wake up in time to watch these goddamn races. And for the most part, I mean, they haven't been that enthralling this season, let's be honest. Aside from Austria, we got that whole Lando Norris and Max Verstappen situation that happened, and I don't know. My position on that is it's just fucking racing, to be honest. I know Max was being a bit of a cunt, but that's who Max is, and that's when you're someone of Max's caliber, of his status, that's the kind of driving that you're gonna have to deal with if you want to be better than him. That's just what it is. That's how Schumacher was. That's how they all were. All the GOATs before, Senna, all them. The only person that wasn't really like that is Hamilton. And I think that's just because he was hindered by the modern rule regulations, that he couldn't be as much of a dickhead as I bet he probably wanted to be with like Seb Vettel and Fernando and shit like that. I bet if Lewis Hamilton had the opportunity to put Fernando Alonso on a wall in around 2008 or 2007, I bet if he had the opportunity to do that, I bet he'd put him in the wall. If he had the opportunity to pit maneuver Rosberg in 2016, like he tried to do in Spain, then, you know, he would have done it, but it's just against the rules. Senna, like, to win the championship back in fucking 1990, whatever, for McLaren, he fucking just took Prost out of the race and then fucking chatted his way up to the podium and then won the championship that way. Schumacher with Damon Hill tried to just dismantle Damon Hill's car in the middle of a race, and we just want to act like Schumacher's innocent. He's still one of the GOATs, though. Starting off with the driver standings, we have a driver by the name of Max Verstappen, hailing from Ned, races for Red Bull Racing, Honda, whatever the last four letters are. Now, do you guys have any idea how many races Max Verstappen wins in a year? I mean, even if I told you, you would not be able to believe it. Do you understand what would happen if Max Verstappen stopped showing up to Red Bull races and stopped racing for them? Red Bull's a business that it's big enough to be on the NASDAQ, and it would go belly up if Max Verstappen ceased to show up. For the past 5 years, Max Verstappen has never been in danger. He is the danger, okay? That's all I got to say about that motherfucker. He's the one who knocks. And right now, he's sitting P1 in the driver's standings like how he does every single year. These past 3 years, he's just been tormenting. He's been doing Mortal Kombat fatalities on the rest of the entire fucking grid, including Lewis Hamilton, who's my GOAT. Bless up my sweet baby boy, Lewis Hamilton. So if anyone doesn't watch F1, now you're fully fucking clued in on the body of Max Verstappen. So he's P1, and he has a pretty demanding lead. I think it's something around, what does it fit? I don't know. I'm not good at math. I'm just going to throw out the number 60, maybe 60 points ahead. I'm not doing the quick maths. Got Lando Norris in P2 in the drivers. Now, arguably, Lando Norris is in the fastest car, and Max is still pulverizing him. And, you know, but that's just, we knew that was going to happen. We knew Max Verstappen is on a higher level than anyone else on the grid right now. And that's including Hamilton and Alonso and Charles. Max is on a different, and Lando. Max is on a different level right now. But Lando, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about Lando. He's just, I feel like he always performs to expectation, but rarely does he exceed expectations of what he can do. He's not winning enough right now, but the season's only halfway over, so there's many more races to come for him. My personal favorite driver, strictly because he's the most handsome man on the grid, Charles Leclerc, hailing from Mons, races for Ferrari. Now, Charles Leclerc, it's hard to be a Charles Leclerc fan, and even on top of that, it's hard to be a Ferrari fan like I am. As you guys can see, I got the memorabilia up here. I got the circuit of Gals Villeneuve over there. So I'm a hardcore Ferrari fan. I mean, I have the championship losing car hanging on my fucking wall with the Charles Leclerc signature under it, okay? So that's how you know I'm a super fan, basically. Charles Leclerc, it just shunts too much, and he's on Ferrari, and the team Ferrari shunts too much, and that's news to nobody, okay? I'm not like doing groundbreaking shit right now, but I mean, P3 in the drivers is still pretty good. Carlos Sainz, his teammate, who's P4 in the drivers, is slowly edging towards him, okay, guys? And enough with the brain rot. I said edging. Fucking cope with it. So Charles is 15 points ahead of him, but these past two races, Carlos Sainz has been doing better than Charles, but I do think it's pretty even. But I do think, bias aside, Charles Leclerc is the better driver than Carlos Sainz at this present moment. And our boy Carlos Sainz in fourth has like 16 different teams to choose from next season. He has the pick of the litter, so I think he'll go Williams. That's what I think. That's what I would do, because in 2026, you motherfuckers better watch out for Williams. They're about to be the fastest team on the grid. Just, you fucking mark my words. Checo Perez. I'm going to keep this short. He's not performing good. and he should not have a seat at Red Bull. The only reason he has the seat is because he sells merch in Mexico and shit like that. That's literally the only reason. He's not... Max Verstappen is just... As you can see, Max Verstappen has 237 points, and Sergio Perez over here has 118. So Max has over double his points in 12 races, which is embarrassing. Every time... My brother's a Checo fan, and I talk so much shit to him, bro, because Checo is just disgracing the fucking family name. And I like Checo. I'm not trying to be a dickhead. I'm just calling it like it is. I like all these guys, except for maybe... Who don't I like on here? I mean, Lance Stroll, I don't really like that much because he shouldn't have a seat, and that's really about it, okay? Checo's just got to fucking pack it in and either retire or go down to Haas. I'm pretty sure Haas can probably fucking use him. Magnussen's a fucking lost cause at the moment. Oscar Piastri, we're going to keep this short because he's probably one of the most boring drivers on the grid. He hails from Aus, and he drives for McLaren. He's pretty reliable for what he is. He's a new driver. He gives Lando some challenges sometimes, but Lando basically has the fucking measure on him, as far as we could tell. But that's what everyone expected. He is, as someone who's new to a top team, he's pretty good. He's really good. I mean, I think he won F2 and F3, something like that. It was crazy. He's generational. George Russell just won the last race that we had. That was in Austria, the Red Bull Ring. And he only won because Lando Norris and Max Verstappen weren't participating in some fucking pretty heavy boy touching. That's the only reason George won. And then he said yabba dabba doo on the fucking radio. And that was the final straw for me. I just can't support a motherfucker that would say that on the radio. You don't want to hear if I had team radios, because if I was in F1 right now, I'd be winning races. And my team radios would just be like radio static, bro. I'd be like on to the next one. I'd have that fucking Bill Belichick mindset. Lewis Hamilton, my sweet baby boy, my Lord and Savior. He's from the UK, mate. He's Sir Lewis Hamilton the fucking third or whatever the fuck. Or no, his dad's name's Anthony. I know all these motherfuckers' family trees, which is crazy because they don't fucking know who Matt Marauder is. But I know Lewis Hamilton's dad's name is Anthony. Behind him, we have old Ferdinand Alonso, and he hails from Spain. Fernando is the oldest motherfucker on the grid. He's my favorite driver on the grid. I love me some Fernando, but as of right now, Aston Martin is just in the fucking weeds, dude. It's bad. Aston Martin is as far in the woods as they were in 2022 with Sebastian Vettel behind the helm. So that's rough. That's really rough for the team. So Fernando P9 and the drivers is bad, considering how the promise that they had these past 2 years at Aston Martin. The fact that their two drivers are 9th and 10th and 11th is bad. Euclid Sonoda, Ricardo's had the measure on him these past few races, but I do think he's a really good driver, and in his future, I see him either going to Aston Martin. This isn't groundbreaking. Everyone's talking about this. I get this information from other people. This isn't my own generated information. Either going to Aston Martin or Red Bull, but I mean, or staying at Visa Castrol Racing Bulls, but I don't think he'll get the Red Bull seat. I think Daniel Ricciardo will get it over him if he outperforms him. And if he doesn't outperform him, I think Checo will just stay in the seat. I don't know if that's confusing or not, but I think some of you motherfuckers will understand. Lance Stroll just signed until like 2050, but doesn't deserve to be in the sport, so we'll move on from that. Nico Hülkenberg is my greatest driver of all time. And that's me being completely for real with you motherfuckers. Nico Hülkenberg is at Haas, bro. Yeah, he has no podiums, all right? Get over it. Yeah, whatever happened in Germany happened in Germany, all right? Let's fucking wipe our hands from that. He's just a steady pair of hands. And he has the measure on fucking Kevin Magnussen right now because Magnussen's just treating his cars like they're fucking toy RC cars. So Nico Hülkenberg, 12th in the drivers is pretty good considering he's driving a fucking Haas. And for those of you that know, Haas is that name alone is so ass, okay? Like, the Haas team in general, they fucking disgrace America almost as much as Logan Sargent disgraces America, but we'll get to him, okay? But Haas did pretty good in Austria, I'm not gonna lie. I think they got P6, P8, or P6, P9, some shit like that. Hülkenberg got P6 in a Haas, which is like, the fact that he did that puts him on Senna levels to me. And that's me being completely for real with you guys. Daniel Ricciardo, I'm of the same ilk as fucking Giles Villeneuve or whatever the fuck. What was the guy that was talking shit about him? I forget who it was. Daniel Ricciardo's been outperforming Yuki for these past few races. He could get the Red Bull seat, but we all know Daniel Ricciardo, okay? He just hasn't been performing these past few years. His last good year was 2020 Renault. And besides that, it's been really up and down, but mostly down. He had that one win at McLaren at Monza in 2021, I want to say. I don't know. These years, it just gets fucking compounded, and I just don't know what the fuck is happening. Ollie Behrman, just because he drove a Ferrari in Saudi, is still P14. So these other drivers that are behind him, it's kind of sad that Ollie had raced one race, and he's an F2 driver, and he has more points than a lot of these motherfuckers. Pierre Gasly had a shaky start to the season, but is doing good as of right now, as good as he can be in the fucking houseboat that is the Alpine. I mean, that's the only word to describe it. It drives like a fucking boat. It's like they just took a Dodge Charger and just put it on the track with what Alpine does with their car. Kevin Magnuson's out of the sport next year, so there's not much to say about him. He's P16. We'll just speed run these motherfuckers. Esteban Ocon out of the sport next year, most likely P17. Alexander Albon, really good, but in a Williams, so that just like takes him down 35 notches because he's outperforming the car, but it's really hard to, even if you're outperforming a Williams, it still takes you to P18 in the drivers. So that's just all I got to say about that. These two guys in the stakes, it's bad. Guan Yu Zhou needs to get out of the sport, but he's got that Chinese money behind him, so that's really what keeps him in. I wanted Guan Yu Zhou to do good, but he hasn't. Valtteri Bottas, I mean, I love Battery Voltas. He's probably one of my favorite drivers on the grid. He was shitting on Lewis Hamilton for his tenure at Mercedes. He had the measure on Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes. Obviously, that's a joke. But yeah, I still think he has some good racing in him. I think he deserves to be on the sport. Logan Sargent, I mean, I like Logan Sargent, okay? But he's bad at F1. Okay, I think he's going to IndyCar, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to flame him too bad. I've done that in my previous videos back a few months ago when I was like really heavy into F1 YouTube. And that's my driver standings, guys. I'll catch you guys later.